Here's Fitterer from yesterday on the question of whether or not the Panthers have decided on who the first pick in the draft will be.
No, you know what? We're still going through the process. Obviously through this whole, since February, the combine, everything else, there's been some clarity. But we've made a conscious effort to keep an open mind about this, be continuous throughout the process. We have the last kind of group in today. We have the coaches, Wednesday and Thursday of this week, and at that point, we'll get together and kind of make that decision. But we've got some clarity through this process.
With that said, Scott, we saw yesterday that Bryce canceled his last visit.
Yeah.
Has there been communication to him that he's the pick?
No, there has not. And, that was a decision he made on his own, and I just refer you to, his reps and to Bryce as to why.
Yeah, well, look, it's not some sort of game that he's playing. He's not trying to speak something into existence like people thought maybe Drew Rosenhaus was doing by cutting off the Jalen Carter visits at the top 10. So,
but do you really think they don't know right now? Do you really buy that? Like, they don't know? Yeah, of course. Right.
It's what happens Thursday night next week is the ultimate reality show about nothing. I was on with Rich Eisen yesterday, and we were talking about this, how the draft could be done by group text. You do not have to have a production. You don't have to have anything. No one's there other than the commissioner and the players who show up. They're the stars of this show. It is meaningless to do it in any venue, Radio City Music Hall or any city, but they do it, and 300,000 people are going to be there over the course of a 3-day weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, in Kansas City. But you don't have to do that. There's no mystery to it once you start, but the mystery is who's the first pick going to be. So they got to keep it somewhat close to the vest. And I would suspect 345 Park Avenue is somewhat chagrined by the reality that we now know it's Bryce Young. When the commissioner walks out to the podium, gets booed, and then announces the pick, it's going to be Bryce Young. The draft begins with pick number 2, and I'm sure the NFL is not thrilled about that, and the NFL wouldn't be thrilled about the Panthers telling the world right now it's Bryce Young, even if they know it's Bryce Young. I'm expecting a call in the next week. Chris, it comes every year. The perfunctory check-the-box phone call from an executive at NBC reminding me that the NFL doesn't want any of the folks working for its broadcast partners to tip picks, even though it is the simplest parlor trick you can do. I've been backstage at the draft. They are lined up 4 picks deep. You don't have to know many people in the NFL to know who the next pick is. I don't do it because the audience doesn't want it. The audience wants that moment of here comes the commissioner with the pick. They don't want to find out from anybody but the commissioner. If it was any other way, I'm sorry, I would take my chances and ignore the director from 345 Park Avenue. It's just a coincidence that that's what the audience wants, and I don't want it. I want to find out when the commissioner tells the world. I hate it when somebody texts me ahead of time. I hate it when it's on Twitter and my son tells me, hey, here's the next pick. I want to, it's 40 years of watching the draft.
Sure.
I want to find out from the commissioner. So I think that's why they're being coy. Remember back in the days when they would the 2011 rookie wage scale, the team with the number 1 overall pick would sometimes sign
like 5 days
to the
before.
Contract.
Right.
Weeks before sometimes.
Yeah.
You could do it. You could negotiate and sign. And well, why would you do it? Because back in those days, there was more to negotiate. And if you were the team with the first overall pick in the draft, you could talk to several different players, and whoever does the best deal, you go ahead and put that name on the card in advance. You do the contract in advance because there was a lot broader range of what you can negotiate. Now there isn't, so there's no point doing it, and the league doesn't want teams to do it.
No. I mean, yes, we know. It's a big show. It's the theatrics. It's the draft. I'm excited for it. I am. I don't care. I mean, number 1 we know is Bryce Young, but number 2, we got no clue right now. And we got a lot of, 2 through 9, 10. I think there's a lot there that we don't have a clue about. So it is going to be good reality TV. You're right. You just can't pay attention to social media and get the answer to the test like 15 seconds before it actually gets said on air or on TV. I understand that. I do. I don't know why. Why does Carolina? Why do they have to say though? we know who it is? Why can't they just say we know who it is? Why do they have to go, well, we're still having a group discussion here? Like, I don't know. That's where I just go, you lose me there. It just becomes like total BS, and I don't know if I want to listen to anything else you say during the press conference. You know who you're taking. We're a week out. Come on. There's no way they're still like, hey, let's have another meeting one more time and go over, is it Stroud or Young? This is too far down the road now. They completely have a lean and have a feel and know where they're going to go. That's where I was questioning. Why can't they just say that?
You're right. There is a point at which it looks ridiculous for them to not know who it is. How can you not know who it is 8 days away? You've done everything. You've talked to everyone. There's not some magical piece of information that is going to fall out of the sky between now and next Thursday night. Barring an 11th hour or 12th hour, as the case may be, gas mask bong video. But look at how the attitudes have changed toward that. I don't think anybody would even flinch at that now. The Laramie Tunsil, remember that landed just as the draft was starting back in 2016, I believe it was. If something unexpected could happen, that's fine. You can still have a decision made. And something unexpected happens, and you pivot if it happens. But they surely know. I just think this is about staying as close as possible within the good graces of the league office.
Right.
They don't want anyone undermining the ratings for the first half hour of the draft, because if everyone knows it's Bryce Young, there isn't the same urgency to tune in at 8. You tune in at 8:20. Right? You show up. You show just like the stoners in California did. You show up 20 minutes late to the party, and there goes that big ratings number. They want everybody to tune in at 8, not 8:20 after the first pick's already been made, because everybody knows who the first pick is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we know that. We know that it's all about dollars and selling the advertisements. Here's the other thing too, and Pete said this, and I had forgotten that this kind of went down yesterday. Levis and Stroud were there in the building yesterday in Carolina. So they had to say that. That's why they said that, because they didn't want to make it look like, this is a waste of a visit or whatever else. So that probably played into that too. I would think that's part of that as well. And, within that, yeah, it's also weird that they're taking a visit that late in the process anyways. It kind of almost looks like a throwaway visit, really, when you add all of that up together. So that's kind of interesting as well.
Why would you even have them in if you know you're taking Bryce Young? Are you doing research in advance of either facing them in the future or possibly wanting to evaluate them in the future? You're allowed to have the 30 visits. You may as well do it, but why aren't you doing it on guys that you're seriously considering drafting? That's what's odd to me. Why go through with that if you really have your mind made up on Bryce Young? And who knows?
Maybe it's that close.
Really
yeah,
maybe there's something C.J. Stroud or Will Levis could have said that changes their mind. But here's the thing. Yeah. It's not like they haven't talked to these guys already.
Yeah, that's right.
These top 30 visits. And in a lot of cases,
could be the third time they've met with them. Right. What's that?
Well, right. So, some guys had no visits at all. And the reason you have no visits at all is there's no further questions. Like the guys who have the most visits are the ones about whom there are the most questions. So it puts a little doubt in the process, but not much. The betting market, I will defer to. Yeah. Bryce Young is the pick, and if it's not, they've done one hell of a job of concealing it. And if it's not, maybe David Tepper has kept his mouth shut, and he's going to start talking over the course of the next week, and he's going to push the needle away from Bryce Young. I just feel like
somebody already opened their mouth. That's why the needle went to Bryce Young.
I feel like it was C.J. Stroud, and it's Tepper who got it to Bryce Young. That's my gut feeling.
It feels like that.
Nothing to base that on.
Yeah,
but that's what I think happened.
Yeah, I hear you. It feels that way, and I think he's the guy that the owner. Okay, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm putting it in quotation marks as far as the owner, because he's an owner of a football team that made his money and his way in the world doing something else other than football. He'd be the guy the owner falls in love with. The charisma, the $1 million smile, again, the way he plays, right? It looks cool. Like, show our highlights again. Like, show our Bryce Young highlights, guys. It looks cool. But what I want to tell everybody is, like, it was a 7-yard throw, and it was a 14-yard out route, and we go, it looks cool. All right, great. But look, I mean, some of the throws is just like, okay, whoa, a 5-yard out by the, whoa, okay, that was, here's a cool release, right? So this is to me where he can fool people. That's cool. That's great. I mean, that's a great athletic throw. But to me, sometimes it's a little bit more about the showman than what it is, and that's what I worry about, because I worry about if he's going to have, the advantages he had at Alabama in the NFL to pull this off. And then, of course, I do worry about, power throws, game-changing type throws into type windows, and then, of course, when the pocket collapses, right? There's very few throws of the pocket collapsing around him and him making a big-time throw in that situation. It's few and far between. Those are the things I worry about. But damn, there's some other throws where you go, "Ooh, that looks amazing." And that, my point is, that's the guy the owner I think would fall in love with. And I think a lot of people have. And again, I know I'm lower than most, so I certainly could be wrong too.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.